Welcome, everybody. If you are just joining us, we're going to give it just another minute and then we'll get started. If you are joining, please share who you are and where you are from. I'm glad to see folks here some folks we know, some new faces. We're going to give it just another minute and then we'll get started. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're here. This should be a lot of fun. This is the sixth time I have done this webinar, and it changes almost completely every single time I do it. So today will be no exception. Okay, just want to go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're here. I'm going to try to keep an eye on the chat. And I just want to make sure if somebody could let me know that you can hear me. Everything's working okay. I'm flying solo today, so I just want to make sure. Okay, great. Welcome. My name is Kristen Hassen. I have been working on AI stuff for, gosh, about 3 years. I started in 2023, really getting interested in AI when I read a book by Ethan Malik, which I still recommend, even though it's a dinosaur now in the world of AI. It's called Co-Intelligence. So I read that book and it really made me think about how much animal welfare has gotten left behind and how much we struggle to compete in a world of online pet adoption, puppy stores, and how much we don't have access to the money and resources that are needed to compete in this sort of new world of pet acquisition. And that was what first brought me to AI. And since then, I have been a learner and a teacher. There are no real experts in AI other than, I guess, the people who are inventing this stuff because it's such a new field. So if you're just coming into it, this is a great time because you're really still in this early adopter group. So you still have plenty of time to catch up, even though it can feel like we're already so far behind. I'm going to go through some slides today and then I'm going to show you some demos. So we're going to walk through a few slides just to cover some of the basics. I do this every webinar. If you've seen this webinar before, know that things have changed and been added. So you're going to see a lot of new information today. I also teach a 5-week practical course for using AI every day for everything you do at work. This class is so much fun. We take no more than 20 students per class, so please check it out. You can either visit my website, it's outcomesforpets.com. There's lots of information there, or scan the QR code. There is a fee for this course, but there are almost always scholarships available. Our friends at Shelter Love have sponsored spots for students to take. So even if you can't afford the fee, you can still sign up. And if we have spots, we will make sure to include you. So that is a course that I think is really worth the investment because today we're just barely going to scratch the surface. Oh, Stephanie, you're signed up. I'm so excited. Okay, cool. So I think I told you I started this in 2023, and I started this one prompt in the first on the left. You can see this is the first time I did this prompt, and I asked AI to make an image of me surrounded by animals, having my mind blown by what I was learning about AI. And so you can see this is. I actually have a lot of these. I just chose three for today because I like to see how AI capabilities are changing. But you can see the first one is like this anime thing. You may remember that was just a couple years ago. That was kind of the edge of what AI could do. Last year, it made me look really pretty bad, and gave me some sort of like pooping face, but it was more realistic. I was a little happier with the one I got today, and that's the one you see on the right. That's a more realistic picture of me. It's a coat I actually have. The animals look more real. So it's getting better and better all the time. And I encourage you all to come up with one prompt and do it like every couple of months. And you'll see whether it's writing or visual, you'll see how quickly the capabilities are changing. We can't afford not to. I'm going to talk a little bit about all the reasons to be terrified of AI, but we can't afford not to engage in it. And I think I put a lot of pushback on myself. I hear a lot of pushback like AI is so terrible, it's hurting the world, and none of that's wrong. But we are watching every other industry, alongside animal welfare quickly embrace AI to be better at work. And I would argue that animal welfare can't afford to be left behind by it. And we really have to start thinking about how we're going to use AI in everything we're doing. The AVMA has been writing quite a lot about using AI for veterinary medicine. And there is a lot happening in the medical space. Now, if you have ever prompted ChatGPT and said, like, hey, I have this fungus on my foot, what is it? You'll know how darn good it is, at telling you what your problem may be, even though it will give you a appropriate warning that it is not a doctor. But these really stood out to me. I was kind of shocked when I saw this. This report just came out, I think, at the end of the year. But it showed that 67% of physicians are now using AI in their daily practice, and 84% are saying that it makes them better at their job. And we know that, just back to this earlier slide, this is a research study from late 2024 showing that doctors plus AI do the very best job. They do better than the doctors do alone, at diagnosing problems and at medicine. So we we can't really underestimate how much this is being used. And so now to the scary part. If you are scared of AI, you absolutely should be. I think there's a great paper called AI 2027. You can use AI to read it because it's a bit heady, but it sort of lays out the potential terrifying global scenarios that could happen because of AI. We know there are privacy concerns. We know there's a tremendous environmental impact, to some of these data centers and the chips that make them. AI is displacing jobs. It's going to continue to displace jobs. And, it creates these real questions about how our society is organized. And so, if you want to learn more about that, and I encourage you to, I think we all should. I was thinking about this webinar this morning, and I almost wanted to say we have a responsibility to read this particular book. It's called Empire of AI, and it came out last year, and it's specifically focused on OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. But it is a sweeping analysis of how AI works, the compromises it's made, some of the security issues it causes, and it really is an eye-opening. It's an expose of really all the scariest stuff about AI. And I think having read it, I feel much more prepared to deal with some of those real concerns when I'm using AI. For animal welfare organizations, it's much more limited. We have a few problems, and I'm seeing these problems everywhere. I've taught hundreds of students now, so they're almost always going to be the same right now. There's three big ones for us. One, it's the garbage in, garbage out problem. If you're putting bad data and bad information into AI, into an LLM, you're going to get bad information out. So, for example, if I asked AI, how many, I've been doing this one, how many kennels, how many animal kennels are in the United States? Well, or in United States animal shelters. Well, we don't know that. So AI isn't going to be able to tell you that. It's only taking what's on the internet. And so it's going to give me some answer. It's going to be like, well, we think there's 500 million, but that is going to be made up. That's not real. So you have to have good information going in to get good information out. There's also privacy and confidentiality concerns. These are, I think, less worrisome for most of us right now, but we, of course, want you to not put personal identifying information about clients, staff members, animals with names and A numbers into AI because all of that can really create privacy and confidentiality concerns. But it's relatively easy to deal with. You just delete whatever the confidential part of that information is before you put it into AI. The biggest problem we see, besides people just not using it, is that organizations trust it. This just showed up on social media, and this is a group with thousands of members, so I don't feel too bad sharing it. I don't know who this person is, but this just showed up, and actually it is a lot of where I'm worried about AI. This person is talking about an AI assisted decision support system. I have been worried from the beginning that we were going to start to see people trying to use AI for making outcomes decisions for animals. It is not there. I started testing it early on to see what it would do. And we really, when it comes to things as complex as case management, we really don't have a good way to use AI for that. And there are a lot of risks for animals in doing that. So, what I would say to this person is that's really cool. Think about what you want your possible outcomes to be because it is these are things that we have to think really carefully about. We owe it to the animals in our care to be actually putting human time and brains into making those decisions. Okay, so if you're just getting started or you're working to improve or get better at AI, you've been using it for a while, but you've mainly been using ChatGPT. We're going to talk now about the things that you need to know. And these next slides are probably the most important ones. And they're most likely the ones that you think you know, but you aren't using practically. This is a adoption. I asked AI to come up with an adoption event that would get Gen Z people excited. So this is what I got. Choose your vibe adoption event, and I think someone's actually doing a version of this. So it gave us a good starting point. So just some basic terminology. This terminology comes up all the time, so I wanted to cover it just so you know what we're talking about. But new AI terminology is showing up all the time. So artificial intelligence is kind of the baseline. It is a field of study, a field of computer science, and it's creating machines and software that require human intelligence as inputs. Large language models are the building blocks of AI. So they're the systems that we use. So every single thing you use with AI is built off of an LLM. Does anybody know, can anybody name an LLM that they use, a large language model that they use? Yeah, ChatGPT. That's kind of the one that I think most people know about. A couple of the others that you may have heard about are Claude, which is my personal favorite for writing and complex thinking. You may have also heard of Google Gemini. There is Grok, which I don't use for political and ethical reasons and privacy concerns. Perplexity is a little bit different, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But Perplexity is built off of a couple of LLMs, like many of the other tools. Good one, whoever named that. Training data is all the stuff that goes in to teach the LLM. When I'm working with my LLM, so when I'm in Claude, Gemini, or ChatGPT, I have them set to not train on my data. You can do that in your settings. The only time you're forced to put in your data is when you're not paying for it. So generally, I recommend that you pay the $20 a month for the level that does not require you to allow AI to use your data to train on. And I just do that because I don't want everything I'm saying getting uploaded into the training data. Um, Machine learning is just when the computers are learning and improving without being told exactly what to do. So when you think about like the weird stuff you might have heard about AI lately, and there's been this whole there's a new social network for bots where they're talking to each other. That is machine learning. They're learning, and we don't. That's the part we don't exactly understand how it works. And then GPT just stands for generative pre-trained transformers, and those are the customized LLM. So like an LLM. The customization are the different brands like Claude, Gemini, etc. There's so much terminology. A great way to learn it is just to ask your LLM what something means. Okay, these next, let's see, I think it's these next two slides. Yeah, it is. Okay, these next two slides, if you listen to nothing else, just like take pictures of these and keep them with you. It's the most important thing I'm going to say today. One is start by using at least two LLMs and use their better. You don't have to use the best models. Use their paid models. The best models are getting more and more expensive all of a sudden. So this earlier I would have said the best models, but those would have been $20 a month. Now they're like $300 a month for most of these. The reason is because the LLMs all work slightly differently, and you're going to get different answers, and you're going to find they're strong on some things and not on others. So it is not that helpful to learn from one because you're just learning how that one works. When I'm learning, I'll do the same thing with two LLMs because I can kind of see where their strengths are, and I get better answers that way. So my two favorites, like if I had to recommend two, um, I would probably pick Claude and Gemini, though there are many now. There's DeepSeek, there's Venice. There are many different ones to choose from. But I like Gemini because I think visually it can do some really cool things that are helpful for shelters. So I use it for visual stuff. Claude is not great for visual stuff at this time. And so I use it for writing and thinking and problem solving and project management. You want to use your AI in areas where you know enough to know if it's wrong. So like I wouldn't use it to write an SOP for a veterinarian about how to perform a spay neuter surgery because I'm not a veterinarian and I'm not an expert in that. But if I wanted to write an SOP about outcoming or pathway planning for difficult dogs in shelters. I know a lot about that. I consider myself an expert in that. I would use it for that because I would know when it's wrong. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. One of the big things that we see a lot of beginners making mistakes on is they're not giving AI a starting point or a reference document. If you're starting out a prompt saying, write me a, and you don't have a reference document, you're already set up for fail. Like don't even do that. You're just kind of wasting your time. If you want it to create something for you, at a minimum, you have to give some reference document. You'll get such a better work product if you do. And you also want to make sure you're talking to your LLM the same way you would talk to an assistant. It's not going to give you the same answer every time. It's not like the internet. And it often needs more context and explanation than you think it does. And the more context, the more caveats you can give, the more specificity, the better. So how to prompt, and this is like the now that I've taught this 5-week course now 4 times. And so I've gotten to see a lot of students doing homework and seeing where they're going wrong. So this is like the best information we have about how to prompt successfully. And you're probably not doing all these things. First one is to be specific when you're prompting and to know what you want the end product to look like. And I'm going to walk you through a couple of examples in a few minutes because I know this is all kind of theoretical right now. But these are the reason I'm doing these slides is these are things you can take pictures of, you can save, use them as checklists. You want to give AI a role and responsibilities. This isn't always necessary, but it's really helpful. Like if I tell AI I want it to be an expert in um, government project management, and then I want it to write an SOP. I'm going to get a really different response than if I just say write an SOP. Like you can say, you can direct it to where you want it to focus its expertise in, and that gives you a different answer. One cool way to practice with this is to, if you have a project, like let's say I want to write a training manual for caring for animals in a shelter. One cool way to do this is have it write it from the perspective of an expert in risk management, and then have it write it from the perspective of an expert in customer service. And you'll see you'll get really different responses. The cool thing is then you can combine those and get really nice end product. So AI is kind of like doing art. You're kind of like, it's like collaging. You're pulling in different pieces. It's not as simple as just like, I wrote a prompt, I got a response. Providing reference is critical. So like a reference can be a photograph. It can be like if I want to create a website, which I've been doing a lot lately, is kind of building new websites. I will upload an image of what I want the website to look like. Like I will find a website I like and say, make it look like this, get a much better product. Um, if I have like right now, I'm working on a set of 100 SOPs. I've rewritten three of them that I really like. So I will give the LLM the three I like. I will give it a template for what I want the others to look like, and then I will ask it to rewrite the others based on those references. Treat the LLM like an actual assistant. This means just like you're oftentimes saying, no, you didn't get that quite right. No, I need some more. No, I need to see more of this. Or this part was wrong. And you have to go back and forth sometimes to get to the end product you really want. The mistake I see is that people don't know what the end product they want is. They just know they want a thing and they kind of know. So you really do need to know that. You need to work through the problem until you get the right answer. Pro tip, switch platforms if you get frustrated. That's why you should use two. Like if you're working in ChatGPT and you're trying to create this common cat in kitten illnesses and animal shelters and management guide. I built this from scratch based on only what was on the internet, so I did not include a reference document. But I remember when I was making this, I got frustrated with, I think it was Google Gemini. It was misspelling things and it didn't look very organized. I took all the text from what I had started and I put it into ChatGPT and got a product I liked a lot better. So this is another mistake beginners make a lot. You want to separate your writing from your design. This may not always be true. A lot of what I'm telling you could be resolved in the next few months, but LLMs tend to struggle when they need to both write text or edit text and design at the same time. So if you can get your text right, get your content right first, then do your design, you'll get a better work product. And this is a new one to this presentation because this was not true up until recently. Ask the LLM for help anytime you don't know. So if you're like, I don't know really what prompt I want to write for this, say, here's what I'm generally trying to do. Can you recommend the prompt? It will actually write the prompt for you. And that just saves so much time of you trying to mess around and get that prompt right. But the LLMs themselves are very good at troubleshooting now. And helping you write prompts. Like if you're stuck on something, you can say, here's where I'm stuck, and it will help you through it. So these aren't just beginner mistakes because I make these regularly. So not knowing the end product you want, not knowing really what you want to be looking at the end. That's why it's good that the clearer picture you have of what you want the end product to look like, the better. Sticking with just one LLM, you just limit yourself too much. Vague prompting. So if you want to create like, help me create a flyer to announce an adoption event at my shelter, That's too vague. Like it gives the LLM too much to guess with. So you'll want to be much more specific like that. Like I'm holding an adoption event on this date. We're trying to focus on this group of animals. We want the mood of this to be bright and cheerful and exciting for spring. The more specific you are, the better output you get. Tr Trying to do something in one prompt without this kind of piecing together and pulling in information from one LLM and designing over here. Trying to just use one platform, asking your question and getting the answer all at once, and then getting frustrated. You will get frustrated because it's just sometimes you actually spend longer using AI than you would if you didn't. You get a better product though, but it isn't necessarily time saving, especially in the beginning. Failing to check your work. So this one just happened to me. Can anybody see what the issue is? So the top is what I put in as my input. So I put in this data and I asked for a comparison between 2024 and 2025. Can anybody see the issue here with this graph at the bottom? There's actually a couple. Yeah, right. Y-axis is not reflective of the numbers, correct? Jumps from 6,000 to 37. The legend is incomplete. Totally. If you just glanced at this and you're like, AI is great, look at all the time, which I did when I first saw this. It only took me a second, but I was like, okay, cool, great. And then I was like, wait a minute. If you don't check your work, it's really easy to publish things like this, which is so embarrassing. You would keep hearing these cases where lawyers are citing historical cases. It never happened because it's so easy to do. We're inclined because we were trained by the internet, where the answer is going to be right or wrong. It's going to be there or not there. We were trained in our brains to believe that the thing we're seeing as an output is correct, and it's just not true with AI. So, uh, you really want to check every single thing you do, especially when it comes to data and writing. Those aren't as immediately noticeable. And so that's just one example, but it will happen to you. It will happen pretty regularly. Again, as AI improves, it happens less and less, but these aren't always just hallucinations. Sometimes it's just style stuff that sounds really weird. If you heard about the M dash, the famous M dash that everybody was like, oh, your writing's AI because you have M dashes in it. It's that long dash line. I went back and I looked at how much of my writing had M dashes in it, which I wouldn't normally do when I was starting to use AI. And I was just like, oh, yeah, that sentence is cool. Look at that. That looks great. And not realizing that that was just like a clear AI thing. And then finally, not providing reference materials. The more reference materials you give, the better. And if you don't provide those, you will see that you'll get probably frustrated and feel like your outputs aren't very good. These are mistakes that we just see all of us making. Okay, so I'm going to run through some quick examples and then we'll do some demos. These are, I tried to focus on really simple stuff anyone can do. They're in the longer course, we spend a lot more time talking about the specifics of like what you can do with data, how you can use AI for marketing, how you can analyze like animal flow. We get into like a lot more detail, but for this, I just want to give you some everyday uses of AI. So this is a sign that we had at one of our shelters. I'm an animal shelter consultant. When I'm not doing this, so we had helped the shelter get this sign in place, wanted to create a flyer based on the sign. And so AI just helped us quickly do that without having to do that design work ourselves. Uh, I I think that my pet peeve in animal shelters is generally kennel cards. I hate them. They look terrible. They make animals just less adoptable for the most part, unless they're if you're one of the few shelters doing a great job with kennel cards, then then good job, but most aren't. So AI has gotten so good at this. I did this one this morning. I just said, hey, can you please just make this kennel card better? I think was my prompt. And it did. It made it a lot better. I could print this out in color, stick it on the kennel, and I would be a lot further along. So I thought what was cool about this one is it really kept the integrity of the dog. This was using Gemini. I asked it to take out the stuff about adult only homes. This dog is adopted to one of my dear friends. And does just fine with people of all ages. But told it to take that stuff out, and it just gave me this much shorter, much more market forward kennel card. You can create quick visuals for animals. This one, this is hilarious. I think he said that he didn't look, I think I might have said he didn't look sad enough in this first one, so it gave him tears. It can be a little bit ridiculous, but these are often good starting points. Like I could take something like this and make this a template for a kennel card and just stick a better photo in here pretty easily. This is just using Gemini. So these are all better than what most of our kennel cards look like. You can also use AI to brainstorm ideas. So you can ask AI instead of 10 great ideas for an adoption event focused on kittens, you can ask for 100 or 1,000. It can endlessly generate ideas for you. And it's a great way for you to start using AI because you'll kind of see how additive it can be to what you're already doing. It like saves me brain compute. Um, I can't handle 1,000 ideas, so I'll start with 10, 20, 50 ideas and then ask for more. Find one I like. So that's what I did with this. This is actually an old graphic. I'm sure it would be old. It's probably about a year old now. I'm sure it would be much better now, but I asked for 10 ideas about an adoption event focused on kittens. I really liked this one, and so I asked AI to design a little flyer for me to advertise this, and it was so cute. And it was like took like 5 minutes, and it just saved me the brain time of thinking of, oh gosh, how are we going to get these kittens adopted? So this is another example. If you do community things, I need to get people from the South Park neighborhood to sign up for my spay neuter event. Give me 20 compelling messages to get them to sign up. If you are struggling to get people to something or struggling to get the message out there in a way you feel like it's effective, you can ask AI. Give me 25 ideas to get long stay dogs adopted. I'm looking to attract Gen Z adopters. That's that one I talked to or I showed you earlier. But you can really target different audiences that way. You can do one fun thing to do is if you want to target people from a certain area, you can say that. Like, I live in Ventura, but Oxnard is next to me. And I know in Oxnard, we really want to get people to come to some of the community spay neuter events. So I can target that messaging to folks in that community. And AI will figure out how to do that and do it for you. Um, this is just like so I had asked, this was a emergency shelter capacity crisis. And I asked Claude to help me come up with a plan. It was such a long plan that I had to have it summarized. It was like 30 pages of a plan. So I had to have Claude summarize what it did. And then I just asked for a quick summary, and then I can pull out different pieces of it for what I need to use. This one was fun. I said, make me a visual alphabet using terminology from animal shelters. So this was just like, this is a fun thing you could do if you have kids that are waiting at your animal shelter. There's another one I want to hold on. Oh yeah. Another fun one to do is to do coloring pages for pets that are actively at your shelter or have been. This is so easy for AI to do, and it's another fun one. You can print out 10 of these and have these for kids at your shelter. They can have messages on them that are about your organization, but it's an easy one. This is a website design I just did for a colleague. This is G2Z. They had a really outdated website. I just uploaded an example of what I wanted the site to look like, gave AI the link to the current site and said redesign it, and it did pretty easily. We wanted to create a visual flow chart. I think we make this mistake with new animal shelter staff. We don't ever explain how animals move through a system. So this was for a client to show how animals move through the system. It's a really simple one. And these flowcharts are very helpful as training materials. We give animal shelter workers like so many things to read. And if it's longer than a tweet, it probably is never read. So this kind of stuff can be really useful for your organization. Um, I'm including this one just to show kind of the how good the imagery has, how good the visual stuff has gotten with AI. But this is my kitten who came. He is not, he was a little bit, um, you know, gross looking when he came. He's so adorable now. But that's when I took that picture. But I asked for a couple of different pictures of him drinking from a crystal fountain. I just made up a prompt. And why I did this and why I wanted to show you this is that the different LLMs will give you different interpretations. Like I wasn't that specific with my prompt. So I believe this is ChatGPT and this is Google Gemini, I think. But they gave me different visuals. So you can mess around with the different platforms and get really different results. And this, you can take this in a million directions. It's gotten really good at keeping the integrity of the original image, which is something that it wasn't always good at. It would change the image a lot, and it's getting better and better at just keeping that original image. Data analysis is really, I mean, I don't know how we ever did it without AI, and we're able to look at so much more. You can take something like, you can take the all the data you use now and you can ask entirely different questions. Like, I did this the other day. I looked at a data set that I've been looking at for years, and I said, please look at this the way a hospital would look at patient data, like patients being admitted and released from the hospital. And it gave me a totally different data analysis. So there's so much stuff you can do, but you can also just do basic data analysis. Now, this is one where you have to really know that the data going in is clean data because it will give you the wrong answer. AI is never going to say, I don't have an answer. It's always going to give you one. It's not always going to be right. So you do need to know. It's great to check this against data that you have done without using AI. So you always want to check any AI generated data. But what's cool about this is if you're like at an organization where big dogs are your problem, and your data analysis shows you intakes and outcomes, but you don't really know how to look at that specific population, you can really use AI to look at a specific targeted population that you could have done before, but it would have taken you a long time. So like I can pull out big dogs that are brown and over 40 pounds, and I can look at their length of stay month by month. I can look at how long each one is staying in a shelter. I can look at does their kennel location matter? There's so many different ways you can chop up the data, and it's nothing you couldn't have done before, but it's stuff you either may not have thought of or you may not have had the time to look at. So it's really just great for data analysis. You may have like when you have volunteers and they want to know certain questions about the data, it's a lot easier to get that now too. This is an example of a whiteboard project we did in the last class. Dr. Hurley is in our 5-week course right now. And so we were taking, Dr. Hurley has done so much for the field and taught so much. So we asked AI just to like take her 10 key teachings and turn it into a whiteboard. And this is an example. I wanted to share this because this is an example where I didn't follow my own rule. I tried to do text and I tried to do graphics at the same time, like visual at the same time. You can see there's some problems here. Like, there is, I think like number 10 is repeated twice. It's like it got tired or something. But generally these are correct. Like Dr. Hurley was like, yeah, it did a really good job. So what I did is I backed out. I took this, I turned it back into text and I fixed the text problems, like whatever the issues were with the text, and I reloaded it. And then we got a better output when we took the data or we took the information from this as text, put it in, and made a new whiteboard, and we got a much better result from that. So it's kind of working with it, and you oftentimes want to pull stuff out of visuals, turn it back into text, fix that text. This is, and I'm sure there's an error in the second one somewhere, although it got much, much closer. But these kinds of things help us take really big problems with lots of text. I couldn't possibly read everything Dr. Hurley's ever written or spoken about and turn it into concepts that I can use and make actionable really quickly. AI is also good at making presentations, but again, it's garbage in, garbage out. There's so many gaps in our animal welfare history. I tried to do a couple of presentations. It's only going to pull what it knows from the internet. So like this is a look back Los Angeles. If you look at this slide, this is a good, it's a good example of you want to check your data here. Like, I don't know if this is true. It may just be telling me a story because I asked it to tell me the history of Los Angeles animal welfare. So I would want to check all of this and make sure it's accurate. But it's really gotten good at designing presentations. Some of them are visually like meh. Like this one on the left, I'm like, I don't know. I don't really like that. Um, these two are not great examples, but it can do them. So if you need to put together, this is more useful if you have like a volunteer training manual and you want to make a presentation slide deck, you can do that. Even in Gemini, you can make a pretty quick slide deck, but this is an example of me asking it to give me both the information and the design at one time. So I'm showing you these so you can see that your output's not always going to be perfect. And it's not always even going to be exactly what you want, but you should know why. You should know why. Like, I know why. I know it's because I asked it to do the content and the design, and I didn't give it any specifics. That's why it's not the product that I really want. Um, I end on this slide because you should be learning AI by having fun. It is so fun. If you were like a creative, nerdy kid, I was like, my brain was always like an imagination world. AI is so great for you. And there's so much you can do with it. I like randomly decided to turn my pit bull into gargoyle, about once a month and see what different outputs I get. But I learn a lot about AI doing that. Like I learn how to make the output better. I learn maybe which platforms are strongest, what things it doesn't really pick up on. So you should be having a good time when you're doing this stuff. It's one of the students in our class, I give homework every week, and she was like, I didn't do my homework, but I did use AI to order our whole office lunch, and we got exactly what we wanted. And we found a new restaurant. That's exactly what you should be doing. Like, it's just learning how to use it all the time for different things. So, however you do that, I think a lot of us are waiting to use it because we're like, I don't know exactly how to use it. And that's what you don't want to do. So, I'm going to just stop there for a minute and ask if anyone has any questions before I move on to just showing you a couple of different platforms. Okay, I'm gonna keep that open, but we're gonna go so I can hopefully see your questions. I'm gonna exit out of this and we're gonna go to Google Gemini. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, what you should be seeing now is Google Gemini. So I'm gonna keep my chat open now. Oh, do I get challenged with the environmental impact of AI? Yes. And I also get challenged with the environmental impact of the cloud, golf courses, mining. Like I really struggle with this environmental impact because we're just devastating the environment in so many ways. It is not particularly extraordinary how AI is destroying the environment, and it's not going anywhere. And I think I made the decision ethically that the trade-off of trying to use AI for good was better than just not using it because I do think it's going to be like the internet. It's going to be this thing that is inescapable. I in many ways wish AI didn't exist. I think it is really detrimental, but it does and it's here. And I think for most of us, what we can do is just try to use it for good. That's my most honest answer. I'm really, really conflicted about it. I don't think there's an easy one there. Okay, so I'm in Gemini. A couple things you want to know when you're in any of these is you can see your expanded menu here. You should know what your expanded menu is in any of them. You can see chats over here. You can see you can see the different things you've created. As you can see, I've been really busy turning my dog pink. And then we want to see our settings. And so these are your settings. And you want to be able to always go into your settings to know what am I what am I doing and how does Gemini handle my data? How can I manage my chat activity in Gemini? Who can manage my data? Like I want to be able to see all of this all the time. And in your settings, you can see all of these things because we really, I think, don't spend probably enough time knowing how the AIs are working. I'm gonna pop over to Claude for 1 second before I come back to Gemini because I want to show you something in Claude and I don't know where it is and I don't remember off the top of my head where it is in Gemini. So let me I'm gonna go to my settings here. Okay. In your settings, this is Claude, so this is just like Gemini, and this does exist in Gemini, I just can't remember where it is. In Claude, it's really easy. It's going to ask you your personal preferences. Make sure to set this for every single thing that you're doing. Like, for every LLM you use, you want to have preferences. These are my settings. So I want it to use no M dashes, no unnecessary bold fonts. The lines between sections things makes me crazy. I told it my vibe. I told it who I write for. I tell it like remember the conversations that we've had so that I don't have to tell you things over and over again. Before answering questions, please review research on the subject you're talking about. That one is like so helpful because if you don't do that, it's just going to take what's already in its training data. So that one is really helpful. And I'm happy to share these after the webinar. I said avoid writing in negatives as much as possible, avoid sentence fragments, avoid platitudes. I don't want it to tell me how great I am all the time. I really don't. I don't like that and it's not helpful. In the settings, I can also connect it to other platforms I'm using. I can also manage my privacy settings. So all of this is really, really helpful to know. So I wanted to make sure you knew that. So I want to do a quick thing. Let's actually just because we're in Claude, let's stay in Claude. I'm going to show you a quick thing. So I was looking at just thought of what is a big open admission government animal shelter. And I'm going to look at their adoption page because pet peeve number 2 behind kennel cards is most definitely adoption web pages. They're just so bad. So I'm going to ask Claude, and Claude is what I use for thinking, writing. I'm going to ask Claude, I'm going to say, here is the adoption web page for an animal shelter, and I'm going to say shelter. Please identify barriers to adoptions in the language on this page. And then I'm just going to put in a link and I'm going to see what it gives me. This is up until recently, the LLMs couldn't search the internet. So if you had seen me doing this presentation a year ago, this is not what I would have been showing you. It's an example of how quickly it changes. Oh boy. Um, so I have it set up to be able to navigate my computer. So it's actually like working on my computer right now, which is not ideal for this presentation because it's probably going to take a minute longer. So let's see what it's saying. Okay. All right. So what is the feedback? We're getting it. So it said the direct fetch got blocked. Let me pull it up on the browser instead. So it actually was able to go into my computer and look in the browser or use my browser. So that's for another day. So the process is framed as a gauntlet, not an invitation. It's so I asked it to identify barriers on this page, right? We prefer to meet all family members on the adoption day. It says this is a well-documented barrier requiring all household members to be present on a specific visit, creates logistical obstacles. Blah, blah, blah. The meet and greet policy actively discourages multi-pet households. It Our contract requires you to take a new pet to see your veterinarian within 14 days. And it's so great because the Access to Veterinary Care Coalition identified cost as the single largest barrier to veterinary access. It's talking about why that's a barrier. It has this big list, right? Like this is kind of overwhelming. Ours favor a narrow demographic. The page is only in English. If you don't meet the right pet section introduces friction and ambiguity. Okay, so this is all great, but this is a lot of information, right? I'm going to go over to ChatGPT because I asked it the exact same question before this class. So we're asking all the LLMs the same question. And ChatGPT gave me similar, it gave me this big long list. So I'm going to use ChatGPT just because it's going to be a little faster, but I'm going to say, can you rewrite the text on the page to be concise, avoid barriers, and be adopter friendly? It should get pe people excited about adopting. Keep in mind some barriers are structural, so focus only on the ones that the shelter can change. Let's see what happens. We're going to pull up the original page in just a minute. So it's rewriting the page. Okay, so let's look at the original page. Okay, so this is the original page, and this is the text on the original page. And keep in mind, we haven't even looked at that, right? But let's look at it now. Thank you for your interest. Okay, so let's find these barriers it's talking about. It has the fees. We prefer to meet all family members on adoption day. If you have another dog at home, we encourage you to do a meet and greet. After meeting the adoption candidate, a meet and greet appointment will be scheduled for you to bring your resident dog at a later date. So we're not able to perform meet and greets between dogs and cats. Okay. So this is the original page. So then let's go to ChatGPT's page. And they have indeed made it much more friendly. This one starts out how to adopt, visit animal care and control during open adoption hours. Our team will help you meet animals and find the right match for your life. That sounds a little weird, right? Just say find the right match. That's why you want to check your work, check its work, bring a valid ID. Once you find the pet you love, you can complete the adoption and take them home. Our staff are here to help every step of the way. If you have questions or need guidance, just ask. We want you and your new pet to succeed together. This is way better. This is something the shelter could change tomorrow, right? They could make this change right away. They could just take the text that's there, take it down and redo it with this. And they've added even some things here that I really like. Why adopt from CACC? You'll find an incredible variety of animals. When you adopt, you save a life, make space for another animal in need, strengthen your community, gain a loyal companion. So all this stuff isn't on the current website. This is a lot better. This is a change. Any of you who have websites, it's a great practice for you, and you'll really learn a lot by doing this exercise. So I'm gonna get out of there. And now we just moved from 3 platforms. We were in Gemini, and we moved from Gemini then to Claude, which was going to take a little longer just because of my settings in Claude, and then ChatGPT. So you can kind of move around the LLMs, and you can do a lot of this stuff in any of them. Oh gosh, almost out of time. I don't even know how that's possible. Okay, let me show you one more. And this one's just a quick one. This one I asked Nano. This is in Gemini. When you're in Gemini, keep in mind down here, you need to know just a little bit about how each one of these works. And if you don't know, you can ask. But I want to make sure I'm in an image setting in Gemini. And so I asked it to remove the kennel bars. This is this weird little dog I saw, this poor genetic mess dog I saw at a shelter the other day. And I just asked it to remove the kennel bars but not change anything about the picture. I really love this for cats, especially. It's so great to be able to have cats without bars in front of them. But then I could also say, keep the, let's say, keep the dog the same, but put him on a blue bed in a home where will he is comfy and cozy. I'm just making up a prompt, but let's see what it gives us. So we don't want Gemini to change the dog, right? We want the dog to look the same, but we do want them to change the environment. And it's so great at this now. So I have it in thinking mode. Okay, so you will notice, let's look at this dog, and then let's look at this dog. It changed the dog. This is the kind of stuff that happens. So I'm going to try again. But it did change the dog just a bit. It changed the ears a little bit. So I don't like that because I want it to still look like that dog. It's pretty close, but one cute thing is it even kept the pink toy, right? So why I think that this is, yeah, so it's not exactly the image, and it's intermittently better or worse at this on any given day. You do want to have it in a higher, if you're not getting the result you want to have it in a different mode. So if you check this out, this is, see, I told it to remove the bars from this photo, but I had it in fast mode. Fast mode, it wouldn't do it. I was like, what is going on? I kept asking it and it just wouldn't do it. I realized I needed to do a new chat and I needed to change the mode. So now I don't love this. So I'm going to change. I think I know what I did wrong. So I'm going to start a new chat with a picture of this dog. Wait, I'm going to take the one where the kennel bars have already been removed. Where are my kennel bars? Aha. There you go. I'm just going to take a picture of this now. I'm starting a new chat because you'll find that if you are having trouble starting a new chat, it almost clears the deck. So I'm going to start a new chat just for the sake of time because sometimes it'll get worse as the chat goes on. I haven't read a lot of this, but it is a problem. So I'm going to say, keep this dog exactly as it is, but put it on a blue bed in a cozy home. Oh, I'm in fast mode. So we'll see what it can do in fast mode. I'm guessing we won't love it, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I don't love it. So I'm gonna try again, not in fast mode. Doing this stuff is really painful for me because I hate doing, it's really hard to present a webinar where you have no idea what you're going to get. But I feel like I have to because this is going to be your experience doing this. So I have it in image mode. I have it in image mode. Oh, I'm going to create image. I'm going to upload my image. I'm going to take my little dog and I'm going to make sure I'm not in fast, I'm in thinking. And then I'm gonna say, keep this dog exactly as it is. Put it in put it on a blue bed in a cozy home. Something like that. Okay. We're in thinking, we're in image. Let's see what we get. And you will find this can change day to day too. And if we had a little bit more time, what I would be doing is moving this into another platform and looking at the result in another platform. But now it's thinking about what it wants to do. Okay, and we got an image of this same dog. It's definitely the same dog, and it is on a blue bed in a comfy home. And you can see it's a little bit less natural looking because it kept the dog exactly as it is. But we have our dog in the home. So this is just like those are two quick examples. And I know we're out of time, so thank you for coming. Um, Take that 5-week course if you aren't already signed up. You can sign up if we have scholarships available. We will give them to you if you can't afford to pay. And thank you for coming. There's so much more. This is really just barely diving into how to use AI, and that course will get you more. But there's also a ton of free resources online. And my message to you is just use it. Like just start using it and do as much as you can with AI in different ways. And just by using it is how you learn. So thanks a lot. And hopefully talk to you more about AI soon. And yes, see you in Whistler, Cynthia, where we have a whole day long on AI. Bye, everybody. Have a good day.